You won't believe it. They found a super fancy barbecue camp in the forest. Sayo invites a trap, but Kyung-sai sees it as a treat. The meat on the rack is mouth-watering. In the end, they couldn't resist and decided to take the barbecue back to share. Meanwhile, Sayo-nai and Sayo-lai discovered a house. Sayo-lai knocked on the door a few times, and when no one responded, she boldly opened the door and walked in. Sayo-nai had no choice but to follow her into the chaos. The awful smell in the room made Sayo not cover her nose until she walked in front of a mirror. She accidentally found the landlord's family photo and Sayo-nai wanted to call Sayo not to leave. As soon as they pushed open the door, they were hit by the bad smell and couldn't open their eyes. They saw that everyone in the photo looked deformed, and suddenly there was a loud bang out. Sayo-nai and Sayo couldn't escape now and had to hide behind the door to observe what was happening outside. They noticed the door shut. Sayo-nai and Sayo-li's footsteps overshadowed by Sayo-li's heels. At that moment, Sayo looked over and saw them helping a pregnant woman onto the table, who was screaming in pain, as if she was about to give birth. Sure enough, in no time, the baby was born, but who would have expected that the baby also looked bizarre? Just when the two were terrified of the baby's appearance, the house owner suddenly spotted them. They saw that the visitor wasn't friendly, so they quickly locked the door and prepared to escape through the window, but the outside was completely sealed off, and the door looked like it was about to. They had no choice but to barricade the door with the bed, hoping to buy more time to escape, but sadly, they had to search for other exits. Sayo pulled back the curtain and unexpectedly discovered a delightfully unexpected outhouse. They endured the foul smell to pry the wooden planks apart, and in the instant the ogre broke in, they vanished into the outhouse, successfully escaping. And so, Sayo watched helplessly as Sayo fell, but she dare not stop. After running for a while, she realized the ogre wasn't chasing her. Sayo quickly took off her headphones to call for help, hoping the director would rescue her, but the ogre was sprinting towards her. The ogre found the wireless headphones that Sayo dropped on the ground, picked them up, and hung them around its neck. At this moment, Sayo hid behind the house, afraid to speak, and I was so tense I could barely breathe. She was worried about being discovered when suddenly the ogre's family drove up, with Sayo's trophy dangling from the hood. The ogre was munching on greasy chicken feet and accidentally tossed a piece right in front of Sayo. Terrified, she covered her mouth and didn't dare to make a sound. After the ogre drove away, Sayo finally dared to get up and seek help, while the other three had no idea what was going on and were happily enjoying the barbecue they took from the camp. The group looked up at the sky, dreaming of the future, even discussing how to spend the prize money from the competition. Suddenly, Sayo rushed out of the woods in a panic, mumbling that Sayo was dead and there was an ogre. She wanted to caution everyone to depart swiftly, emphasizing that they had to flee immediately, right now. But Kyung-sai didn't believe her, thinking Sayo just wanted to hog the cash and even mocked her. She claimed that the ogres were all actors, but Jack chose to believe Sayo. He decided to leave with Sayo, which made Kyung-sai overjoyed. As long as they left, she could claim the prize all for herself. However, at that moment, Sayo shouted at the barbecue, and everyone realized that the tattooed meat was the leg of Sister Jinba. Absolutely overwhelmed by the revelation, they all desperately wanted to run away, having absolutely no time to think about the prize anymore. Hyung wandered through the forest, trying to find a way out, when suddenly she heard a woman scream in the distance. It turned out to be an ogre trap. Sayo screamed in fright and ran out, unsure of what to do, while the other three were struggling with the ogre. Sayo frantically ran forward, accidentally falling into an ogre trap. It was like she called out to the heavens and earth for help in vain. Jack and Sayo, being physically fit, knocked down two ogres and fled like crazy, but suddenly Jack noticed that Sayo was missing. So they decided to split up. They planned to meet in an abandoned area, while Jack ran back in the direction he came from. They found Sayo, and the two of them struggled to climb out of the pit just as the ogre drove up behind them. Seeing the ogre with a knife catching up, they sprang off the ground and jumped into the river below. Meanwhile, Sayo and Kyung didn't dare stop, and suddenly a sword shot out in front of them. Without any weapons to fight back, the two could only keep running, but their hands fell into an ogre trap. Sayo exhausted all his efforts and attempted every possible method, yet he couldn't untie the tightly bound ropes. And at this moment, the terrifying ogre was stepping closer and closer to them. My mom always said living is everything, and at that moment, Dale, who was grabbed by the ogre, woke up from unconsciousness. When he woke up, he found himself hanging from a tree, with a knife nearby. The ogre kept poking him with the knife, making several tiny cuts. He realized that the knife in his hand wasn't sharp enough to meet the demands of cooking. So he began to sharpen it vigorously until sparks flew off its blade, preparing to use it to create a signature dish. He hid behind a tree, secretly observing the little house while noticing an old man busy out. The elderly man was squatting down on the floor engaging in cleaning, and Dale managed to sneak inside quietly. He found some sewing supplies and casually asked the old man about the ogres. It turned out the ogres were the result of inbreeding, combined with pollution from a factory, which created these deformed yet remarkably tough creatures. The old man said everyone had moved away, leaving only him and his children living there. "You bastard, I seriously am going to kill you. I'm going to kill you, you despicable bastard. I'm going to kill you."